Imagine being told your enemy was starving, that America was weak, that its people were barely surviving the war. Then imagine stepping off a train and seeing supermarkets overflowing with food, farms stretching farther than the eye could see, factories operating day and night, and even prisoners of war receiving hot meals, medical care, and clean beds. For thousands of German prisoners during World War II, this wasn't propaganda, it was reality. And what they discovered inside America would change the way many of them viewed the war forever. By 1943, the Allies were capturing German soldiers in growing numbers across North Africa and later in Europe. Shipping these prisoners to Britain quickly became impractical, so the United States agreed to house many of them. Over the course of the war, more than 370,000 German prisoners of war were transported across the Atlantic to camps spread throughout the United States. Most boarded the ships, believing they were headed into a harsh and uncertain future. Nazi propaganda had spent years portraying Americans as soft, undisciplined, and economically unstable. Many expected prison camps filled with hunger, abuse, and revenge. Instead, they were about to encounter something they had never imagined. But the biggest surprise wasn't waiting inside the camps. It was waiting outside the fences. After capture, German soldiers endured long voyages across the Atlantic under heavy guard. Few knew where they were going. Rumors spread through the ships. Some feared they would be executed. Others believed they would spend the rest of their lives in miserable prison camps. When they finally arrived in America, many expected to see cities struggling under wartime shortages. Instead, train windows revealed something completely different. Miles of fertile farmland, busy highways, small towns filled with thriving businesses, freight trains loaded with supplies, endless factories pouring out tanks, aircraft, trucks, and ammunition. For soldiers who had watched Germany struggle with shortages, the sheer scale of American production was difficult to comprehend, and they had seen only the beginning. The camps themselves were not luxurious, but they were orderly and generally operated according to the Geneva Convention. Prisoners received regular meals, medical treatment, clothing, and places to sleep. Many expected constant mistreatment. Instead, they found routine. 3 meals a day, showers, libraries, sports, religious services. Some camps even organized educational classes, music groups, and theatrical performances. This did not mean captivity was pleasant. Prisoners had lost their freedom, worried about families back home, and faced an uncertain future. Yet many admitted they had expected conditions to be far worse. Then came another surprise: the food. American farms were producing enormous amounts of food, despite the demands of war. German prisoners often received balanced meals that included bread, meat, potatoes, vegetables, coffee, and occasionally desserts. Many had not eaten so well for months. Some later recalled being astonished by the variety available in America. Meanwhile, letters arriving from Germany described rationing, bomb damage, and growing shortages. For some prisoners, an uncomfortable question began to form. If America could feed hundreds of thousands of enemy prisoners while fighting a global war, just how powerful was its economy? That question would only grow louder. Because millions of American workers were serving overseas, labor shortages became severe. Under international rules, many German prisoners volunteered or were assigned to work on farms, in forests, and in food processing operations. For the first time, they interacted regularly with ordinary Americans: farmers, teachers, mechanics, families. Many expected hatred. Instead, they often encountered professionalism or simple courtesy. Some farmers shared meals after long workdays. Others exchanged stories despite the language barrier. These encounters did not erase the reality of war or the suffering caused by Nazi Germany, but they challenged years of propaganda about American society. Some prisoners later said they were amazed by how ordinary Americans lived, and by how much food, machinery, and consumer goods seemed to be everywhere. As months passed, many prisoners began comparing what they saw in America with the reports coming from home. Factories never seemed to stop. New trucks constantly rolled onto the roads. Railroads carried endless supplies across the country. Airfields filled with newly built bombers. Shipyards launched vessels at astonishing speed. For soldiers who had believed Germany still had a chance to win, these sights were impossible to ignore. Some quietly concluded that Germany simply could not match America's industrial capacity. Others remained loyal to the regime and dismissed what they saw. But doubt had begun to spread. The war was no longer being measured only by battles. It was being measured by production. In May 1945, Germany surrendered. For many prisoners inside American camps, the announcement brought mixed emotions. Relief that the fighting was over. Grief for lost friends and families. Uncertainty about what awaited them back home. Most remained in the United States for months while post-war Europe struggled to recover. Eventually, they returned to a Germany transformed by defeat. Many came back carrying memories they never expected to have. Not memories of battle, but memories of an enemy nation whose economy, agriculture, and industrial strength had challenged everything they had been taught before their capture. The story of German prisoners in America is not a story about victory in battle alone. It is a reminder that wars are fought not only with tanks, aircraft, and soldiers, but also with factories, farms, railroads, and the ability to sustain millions of people over years of conflict. For thousands of German prisoners, America revealed a different kind of power, not just military strength, but industrial strength, economic strength, and a standard of living that many had never imagined could exist in the middle of a world at war. Sometimes the greatest shock of war isn't what happens on the battlefield. It's discovering that everything you believed about your enemy was wrong. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more true stories from World War II. From forgotten battles and secret missions to remarkable eyewitness accounts, there's always another chapter of history waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.